Sup, guys? It's Toad back with you for Tuesday, June 17th. Is that what day it is? Who even knows? Yesterday on the show, 1-1. We started out with the win on the Philadelphia Phillies. Fairly easy win there with the Phillies. Then the night game did not get there, fading my Boston Red Sox. Surprisingly, Giolito had a really good start in that game. I mean, the game was a complete under, so maybe I should have recommended that, although I didn't love that as much. I thought it was a bad spot for the Red Sox. Logan Gilbert pitched pretty well. He had 10 strikeouts in the game, but the Red Sox won 2-0. Red Sox just completely held Seattle's offense down. So it happens. I mean, that's the way it is. It was a slight loss. 1-1 day yesterday. And I guess that's all I have to say about that. We can move on to today. Talk about NHL Stanley Cup Finals. Though I will actually say, I'll mention the NBA game real quick yesterday because I do have that series play on Oklahoma City that I played after they went down 2-1. So that's looking good right now. I mean, I don't want to celebrate or do anything to jinx anything or whatever, but Oklahoma City with the pretty easy win last night. Obviously, they're very good at home, so hopefully they can just take care of business here and get that series done. I believe the next game in that series is either tomorrow or the day after, so I don't know. So I'll be back talking about that. But we do have NHL Finals, Stanley Cup Finals Game 6 here with Florida winning Game 5 on the road, and they're up 3-2 now. And as you know, I have Florida as my pick to win the whole thing. If you saw my bracket show, I picked Florida to win the whole thing. Coming into this series, I felt that Florida would win the series, even though it is an Edmonton revenge series for last year. I just think Florida's the way more balanced team, and I lean that way in this game, man. I mean, Florida, they know they're going to have to get this game at home here. They do not want to have to go to a decisive Game 7 on the road, where obviously Edmonton would have an advantage at home, so Florida's got to take care of it here, and I think Edmonton might be a little bit on the ropes here right now, man. Florida's been the better team in the series, as I keep saying. One of the games that they lost, they had a 3-goal lead in the game, which I think was the second game. Florida has basically had the upper hand in every single game of the series. They've had the lead every time. Edmonton has not had a lead by margin, I don't think, in any of the games in the entire series. It's always been Florida with the bigger margin, the bigger lead in every single game, I believe. So Florida has had the upper hand. They are the more balanced team. They have the better defense. They have the more steady goaltending. As Bobrovsky has been good for them during the series. Skinner, obviously, was not doing well for Edmonton, and Edmonton decided to pull him when they were down 3-0 in Game 4, which I believe was the game that Edmonton erased the 4-0 deficit and came all the way back, if I'm not mistaken. Edmonton put in Pickard, and I believe they used him again in the last game, Game 5, to, mixed results. I mean, they lost the game. It wasn't like the worst goaltending game that you'll ever see. But Edmonton, I don't know that they can win this series, man, when they have goaltending issues. You need to know who your goaltender is in the Stanley Cup Finals. And Edmonton is having issues. They don't know. I mean, they have probably the best offense in hockey, but they're having issues otherwise, though. So I do like Florida in this one. I mean, I'm rooting for them just to get Canada out of here. So hopefully it happens. Hopefully the Canadian streak continues, of the streak of not winning continues. I don't remember which team was the last team to win the Stanley Cup as a Canadian team, but I think it's been since the 90s probably. And I think it was either Edmonton or Calgary, if I remember correctly. I forget which team. It might have been one of those Edmonton Gretzky teams. I'm not even sure, but I'll go look at that. But I know Canada hasn't won in a long, long time. So let's go USA. Florida is the way that I would lean here. I'm not going to make a play on this or recommend a play. Of course, as I keep saying, I'm not actually making bets on the plays I'm giving out on the show right now. I'm just giving them out as plays. And since I've clarified that, I haven't done that well for the most part. But we need to get going, man. Still, we're right around like the break-even point this year, which obviously is not good. I mean, we want to get wins here, but hopefully starts turning around. Florida's up from -140 to -150 here. 77% of tickets, 82% of the cash on Florida. So yeah, the money is coming in on Florida a little bit. They're actually a little bit public now, I guess, just because of the recency bias. Edmonton has kind of been the public lean throughout the series, though. And I don't really see why a 3-2 series would really change the public's perception that much. I don't know. Total's still sitting at 6.5 with 64% of tickets on the over, 65% of the cash on the over. I believe every single game in the series has gone over so far. So it's like, I mean, law of averages, like some game has to go under at some point, right? Maybe it would be this game if Florida plays their style of game and keeps Edmonton's offense in check again. But the last time Florida really kept Edmonton in check, Florida themselves scored 6 goals and the game still went over. So, I mean, I think you're definitely taking a risk if you want to take an under in these games. So I will not be recommending that either. Anthony, what's up, man? Florida getting stronger. Which the puck line or the money line? No, I mean, I think this money line, I think, is actually the highest that it's been on Florida in the entire series. So I think it's probably over-adjusted, if anything. It might be too high a line on Florida, but I mean, I think it's basically, it's close to where it should be. I think Florida is the slightly better team. You get about like 20 cents for home ice, I would say. You don't get a lot for home ice in Florida. So if the teams were exactly even, I think the home team would basically be like minus 130 or so, because you got to factor in the juice where they'd be minus 110 if it was if the teams are completely even. So they're a bit more than minus 130 here. I think they were around minus 140 in the other home games in the series. So I think the line is about right. It's a little bit high, actually, when the fact that it's up to minus 150. 91 Oilers, okay. For some reason, I thought Calgary might have won it like one of the years right after that, but maybe I'm wrong. All right, yeah, 91 Oilers, which I believe was one of the Gretzky teams, right? All right. I am going to give out 2 plays on the show today, by the way, and they're both going to be unders in the Major League Baseball full game unders. So we'll get to that. I'm going to talk about the WNBA, which, by the way, I've forgotten to mention that the WNBA is playing their in-season tournament already that they call the Commissioner's Cup, which it's all stupid, man. It's like the NBA in-season tournament. I almost completely disregard the fact that that's what these games are. It's pointless almost, man. It's like, why do we care that much that you win some in-season tournament that has no meaning at all? Whatever, but we had no WNBA yesterday. We have a stacked card here with 6 games, and I don't want any part of any of them, man. Indiana's playing Connecticut. Caitlin Clark is back for Indiana. So Indiana's a giant favorite here because Caitlin Clark back, and maybe Sophie Cunningham might be back here for this game too. And Connecticut is the worst team in the league. So we have all that going for us here in this game. Indiana's up from 16 to 17.5 with juice. I'm not going to be laying a point spread like that, man. Yeah, I mean, I don't think this game is really that playable. Yeah, so it looks like Sophie Cunningham is back for Indiana. So they have pretty much their entire roster back. Indiana's coming off a big win over the New York Liberty, though, where they beat the undefeated and probably best team in the league, the Liberty. So Indiana is in a natural letdown spot here. I mean, you beat the best team in the league, and now you're facing the worst team in the league. You're in a bit of a letdown spot, but the only thing that might make this not as much of a letdown spot is that Indiana actually lost on this floor at home to Connecticut. Their second most recent loss, which I believe was without Caitlin Clark in that one. So they might have a little bit of reason to show up here. They might have a little bit of revenge on their minds for that. But, of course, with the spread, you're asking them to cover a massive spread when they're still in a letdown spot. So I would still probably lean slightly against Indiana in that one. But there's no way that I would consider that game to be very bettable on the side there. Atlanta is at New York. The Liberty are so good that they're laying 8.5 points against a pretty decent Atlanta team. It's actually up from 8.5 to some books look like they might have 9 cropping up there now. Liberty, of course, are off that loss to Indiana, but that was kind of a big game, man. I mean, you play Indiana, you're playing Caitlin Clark. That's a pretty big game. And I think this could be a hangover spot for the Liberty because when you're rolling along and you're undefeated, we see this a lot. I mentioned college football a lot because it happens in college football a lot. But in college football, you know, when you lose one game, sometimes it can kind of crush your, like, postseason aspirations and whatever. But still, I think the same type of thing applies where when you're rolling along, you're undefeated, you're not used to taking a loss. And when you take a loss, sometimes it can linger and hang you over into the next game. So I actually don't really like the Liberty in this game either. I think they could be in a hangover spot there. Atlanta's won 3 games in a row. Last 2 games beating up some pretty bad teams, Chicago and Washington. By the way, I forgot to mention Chicago. In that game that I recommended the play on Chicago, they actually lost Vandersloot in that game, and I think she might be out for the season. She's one of their best players, so that is part of the reason why Chicago completely fell apart in that game, and they have been awful without her too. So very, very bad situation for Chicago. You think Angel Reese is going to carry their team? Probably not. But anyway, Atlanta beat them and then beat Washington. But Atlanta beat Washington just by so much that they might be feeling a little bit too high on themselves, beating them by 33 points. But still, I mean, it's the New York Liberty. Like, you're still going to be focused facing the best team in the league, especially when you're only 1.5 games behind them in the standings. So I do slightly lean to Atlanta there. I think the spot for the Liberty is worse with the kind of hangover effect from losing the undefeated season. So I would look towards grabbing the points with Atlanta. Want nothing to do with that either. Washington is at Chicago. Of course, as I just mentioned, Chicago now without Vandersloot, who is basically their best player. Don't call her a sloot, Vandersloot. Washington is up from 3-5. That's how bad Chicago is, that Washington, not even a good team, is laying 5, almost 5.5 on the road against Chicago. Man, times are not good for Chicago, but I'll just sit here and laugh about it. Washington's coming off a 33-point loss, like I said, to Atlanta, and they start out on the road here. So I think it's a good spot for Washington after just a completely embarrassing loss. They get a chance to just right the ship here and go and face a bad Chicago team. I think they'll be up for it. Chicago just won against Connecticut, who's probably the only team that's worse than they are. So they did get a win. Actually, they did beat Dallas twice, too. So all 3 of Chicago's wins are against maybe the bottom 2 teams in the entire league, at least the bottom 2 besides Chicago. But what that win did against Connecticut is it might give Chicago a little bit of confidence because they at least erased a 3-game loss streak. So that might help them a little bit. Although they are returning over from a road trip where they went out east. But the return home spots, returning from road trips in the WNBA, I think is less significant than in other sports because they don't take like really extended road trips in the WNBA. So I don't know. I mean, I don't want any part of this game either. Like I said, I don't want any part of any of these games. Probably the best lean, I would say, would actually be to lay the points with Dallas in this game. Golden State against Dallas. Golden State also not a very good team. Dallas actually up from 1.5 to 3 here, 3.5. So Dallas actually laying a price at home. So people are going to look at this and think, well, wait a minute. How is a 5-5 Golden State team a 3.5-point underdog against a 1-11 Wings team that hasn't even won a game at home? Again, the odds makers are telling you something. The odds makers are telling you basically these teams are about even, and they're telling you Dallas has the advantage here in this game at home. So with a misleading line like that, when you look at the records, I like to listen to what the odds makers are telling you, man. So I think Dallas is the right side in this one. Dallas has lost a bunch of games in a row. The only win that they have is against Connecticut. Yeah, Connecticut sucks. The only, both as a WNBA team and a state, by the way. The only reason that I would stay away from Dallas here is that they came off blowing a game against the Aces. I mean, the Aces, they still carry that reputation, even though they've been actually one of the worst rebounding teams and a pretty bad defensive team this year. And this is without Asia Wilson, who is probably the Aces' best player and their big, post player. So the Aces, they were without their best player in this game, although the Aces did win the first and fourth quarters pretty easily in this one. But Dallas had the lead in this game, man. Dallas was winning this game by 11 points with 4 minutes left, and they wound up losing the game. And, of course, I lost my play that I gave out, where I gave out the Aces minus the points. And it was looking pretty good up through halftime, and then they had a terrible third quarter. And the whole thing went to shit. But because Dallas was way ahead in this game, man, and they almost pulled off a big, not big upset because Asia Wilson was out, but like a 5.5-point upset against the Aces. Dallas might not be totally ready for this game either. Dallas had a really good shooting game, 47.1% from the field, 40% from 3. And I know that Beckers, or however you pronounce her name, she is back. She had a good game in that game. So, I mean, she's been good since she came back. But either way, the Aces, I think that's still like an outlier, or excuse me, the Dallas Wings, I think that's an outlier shooting percentage that they had in that game. And they're coming off, a game where they completely blew like a double-digit lead when they had the Aces on the ropes, which would have been a big win for this Dallas team. So they're in a little bit of a hangover spot here. Golden State is in a letdown spot as well, though, as they just beat Seattle. They've won 3 games in a row, including crushing the Aces. So people are going to look at that, though, and think that Golden State, because they crushed the Aces and Dallas, lost to them by 4 or whatever, maybe the public might see that, but actually they probably won't, because the public's going to just pay more attention to 5-5 versus 1-11. Like, how am I getting points with the 5-5 team? But anyway, Golden State crushed the Aces. Then they pulled off an upset on the road at LA as well. Then they beat Seattle, which was another upset, a home upset. So they pulled off 3 upsets in a row. That was a 9.5-point upset. So Golden State, not really as good as they look, but they pulled off those 3 straight upsets. So I think they are in a bit of a letdown spot here now, going on the road to face a bottom of the barrel team like this. So I do still need a Dallas, but the reasons that I said, them being in a hangover spot pretty much gives me hesitation to actually want to do it. So I'll stay away. Las Vegas at Minnesota, and man, this is getting crazy. Vegas playing really poorly on the boards, really poorly defensively right now. They should be a similar team to last year, even though they lost Plum. They still have their 3 best players there, but this has not been a good start to the season for Vegas. They're still without Asia Wilson, and I think she's supposed to come back in their next game, but she's going to miss this game. So now we're looking at a spot where the Vegas Aces are 13-point underdogs. It's crazy, and it looks like it was going to be a 9.5-point spread if Wilson was playing, which is still really crazy. But now it's 13 without Wilson. I mean, Minnesota is good. They're one of the top 2 teams in the league. It's them and the Liberty. Minnesota only has 1 loss, and in their last game, they bounced back. Got an easy win against LA, and they scored over 100 points in the game. Crazy scoring output there. Vegas is coming off that scare, though, where they almost lost at home. Actually, they almost lost at home to Dallas. Then they lost to Phoenix. Excuse me. That's right. I forgot. They lost a home game to Phoenix after that. So they've lost 3 of their last 4. They're going to need Wilson back, man. But I do think this line is a bit out of control. Probably too high of a line there. But Minnesota is definitely a good team. But at some point, I think Vegas, they still have a couple of really good players on that Vegas team. I think at some point, something's going to turn around a little bit for them. They're not as bad as they've been playing. So we'll see what happens in that game, but don't want to play it. And Seattle is at LA. Way too much WNBA today, and especially with me not wanting to recommend a play on anything. Seattle's on the road right now. They just got upset by Golden State, like I just mentioned. So they might be a little bit pissed off. They might bounce back from that. This Seattle team is better than their 6-5 record looks. So people might look at this and think, well, wait a minute. How is Seattle up from 3.5 to 8 now on the road? They're laying 8 points against a team that doesn't have that much worse of a record than they do. Well, Seattle is the better team. I don't know why the line moved that much. So I don't know if somebody was injured for Seattle and now maybe she's coming back. I don't really know what caused that line to move like that. But Seattle is definitely the better team. They are coming off an ugly loss, although it did break a 4-game win streak for them. But I think you can kind of explain that loss because they just delivered Minnesota's first loss of the season. That was a big win for Seattle. So I think they were in a pretty natural letdown spot, and they fell into the letdown spot. But now after that, I think they might play better here against LA. So I would probably still agree with the Seattle side, but I think you're laying too many points now probably on the road there. And people are going to look at this and see, the public is going to say LA just lost to Minnesota and Seattle just beat Minnesota. So the public might want to be on the Seattle side for that reason, which of course Seattle is the better team. I mean, that's no shock there. But the Sparks are coming off playing at least a tough opponent in Minnesota, but they did get blown out. And they were kind of in a letdown spot too because they pulled off an upset at Las Vegas the game before that. So both teams kind of in bounce back spots to some extent there. So I don't want to do anything with that game either. It is a stay away. And we'll go to Major League Baseball. Try to run through this entire card here. Philadelphia got the win for me yesterday. They're facing Miami again today. Philadelphia used a little bit more of their bullpen yesterday. So Philadelphia's bullpen little bit less rested than Miami's is, but I mean, we're looking at two bullpens that are not very good. As we can see here, I have the chart up here right now, the table up here right now. Both bullpens pretty bad, so if you want to play this game, you might want to exclude the bullpens from it if you're looking to play like an under or on one of the teams to win the game. But with both bullpens being bad, if you're playing a side, maybe you don't need to exclude one or the other. But Philadelphia did use some of their better relievers yesterday to finish the game off because they won 5-2. They got Luzardo pitching. His numbers this season have skyrocketed because he had two really, really atrocious starts. He was dominating. It's crazy, man. He went from total domination to getting absolutely lit up in back-to-back starts. 4.23 ERA now and 1.4 whip on the season is ridiculous. Those numbers look really bad, and it's entirely because the Milwaukee start where he gave up 12 earned runs and then a start against Toronto giving up 8 earned runs completely skewed his numbers. He finally bounced back and actually did it against a good offense in the Cubs, holding them to 1 run in 6 innings with 10 strikeouts, no walks. So I think Luzardo is returning to form here. I mean, that's a good sign that he had a pretty dominant performance against one of the best offenses in baseball. That's going to tell you he's pretty much back, so I'm not afraid of Luzardo here, and he's stepping way down in class to face a Miami offense that I keep saying they're bad. I mean, they're more mediocre, I guess. I have the hitting stats up here too, but this table doesn't let you sort. I want to sort by OPS, and they don't let you do that. They sort it by batting average. So Miami has a pretty decent team batting average, but their OPS is actually a lot worse. So Miami's, they're not a hard-hitting team. So Luzardo is stepping down in class a little bit to face them. He's actually slightly better on the road, 4.06 ERA on the road. Against Miami, though, his numbers actually are not that great. In 23 at-bats, he's allowed a 304 average, but he hasn't allowed many hard hits at all or any walks. So he has held him to a 652 OPS, and the OPS does matter more. So I think Luzardo should put in a good performance here. He's obviously the way better pitcher against Cal Quantrill, who's not having a good season. 5.61 ERA, 1.5 whip. Moving away from Colorado hasn't really helped him. He is a little bit better at home, 4.66 home ERA. Coming off a couple of decent outings this month, giving up 2 and 3 earned runs, 5 innings and three straight starts. And actually, he only allowed 2 in the start prior to June. Although it was against San Francisco, Colorado, and Pittsburgh, and those are not good offenses. Colorado at home, too. But he did get 7 strikeouts and 6 strikeouts in 2 of the last 3. So Quantrill is actually in okay form right now, especially for him. But he is stepping way up in class to face a Phillies offense that is one of the best offenses. And his numbers are not great against them. In 95 at-bats, 274 average, 850 OPS. Do with all that what you will, I guess. But, yeah, I think probably Philadelphia, I mean, they should win, but, they're going to be a big favorite here. And they're probably laying too much of a price here. They're down from minus 180 to minus 176. 87% of the tickets and only 73% of the cash. So the market read is against Philadelphia here. I don't really see much of a reason to want to jump on Miami here, though. I would just stay away from it. Money is coming in the over. I don't necessarily disagree with the over. It's gone from 8 to 8.5, basically 71% of tickets, 85% of cash in the over. I do think Luzardo probably will pitch well here, though, so that's the reason why I don't want the over, although he has allowed a fairly high batting average to Miami, but still, I don't really like it. I mean, if you like the over, you're going to need Philly to do most of the damage there. So I think maybe the way to look at that game is actually Philly's team total over. Might be the right way to look at that, expecting them to beat up on Cal Quantrill a bit in that game. That probably is the better way to play that game, to go over Philly's team total. You're probably having to go over about 5 in that one if you do that. I don't know what the line really is, but something like that. So, I don't know. It's a consideration. Pittsburgh at Detroit. Both of these teams were off yesterday. Detroit is staying at home, but they lost their last 2 games at home to Cincinnati. So they're probably looking to bounce back here in a bounce-back spot. Pittsburgh just lost 2 in a row to the Chicago Cubs, but they were both really close games. Every game they lost in that series, and even the game they won, they were all one-run games. Extremely low-scoring games there. Crazy. So Pittsburgh is coming off a big divisional series there against the Cubs, so they might be in a little bit of a hangover spot, whereas Detroit might be a little bit more angry and in more of a bounce-back spot here. So situationally, I think Detroit probably has a little bit of an edge based on that. But the starting pitching, I'm not sure that they have an advantage. Falter is pitching for the Pirates, 3.36 ERA, 1.12 whip. He's been good this season. His strikeout rate is just low. I mean, he's not a strikeout pitcher, so that's the one thing you kind of worry about here. I kind of worry that he only went 3 2/3 innings against Philadelphia as well, but he kind of bounced back going 5 1/3, giving up 1 run against Miami, and not very good Miami offense, but Falter did bounce back in that start, so he's in mediocre form right now, I guess, and on the road, I think he's a little bit worse. 3.99 ERA on the road, still not that bad, though. Detroit, though, is very, very formidable at home. But Casey Mize is really not their best pitcher, man. 2.95 ERA is good. 1.28 whip, not that good. He puts a lot of men on base. He's been struggling. The team has lost 3 of his last 4 starts. He hasn't gone more than 5 1/3 in any of those starts. Didn't make it 5 innings in 2 of them. He's been kind of struggling. This month, 10-6 strikeout walk ratio. That's not a good ratio. That's way too many walks in 10 innings. 3.6 ERA, so he's been kind of escaping and getting away with it, but he's walking a lot of guys, and he has not faced great offenses over that stretch. Cleveland, Kansas City, White Sox, and Baltimore, so I worry about Mize. He has been way better at home, though, with a 1.54 ERA, but I think we're going to see some steep regression from him. I just don't think he can keep up that ERA. He's not that good. Mize against Pittsburgh, by the way, I forgot to look at the matchup stats here. 22 at-bats. They have a 273 average and 623 OPS, so he's done fine against Pittsburgh. Falter, by the way, against Detroit. I forgot to show it. Let me see. I hate having to switch the team. Come on, ESPN. Detroit only has 4 at-bats against him, but they are 3 for 4 with a home run from Baez off him. So a 750 average, 2,750 OPS, but it's a very small sample size. So Detroit hasn't seen that much of Falter. It's a difficult call in that game, man. The money looks like it's coming in against Detroit. Market read is against Detroit. I mean, Detroit probably laying too much of a price. I mean, I don't think Casey Mize should be laying this much of a price here. They're down from -195 to -190, 84% of tickets, only 50% of the cash. So the money is kind of fading Detroit there. I don't know what else to think about this game, really, to be honest. I mean, the spot isn't that bad for Detroit. Detroit does have the better bullpen and the better offense. So that all being in mind there, I mean, Detroit is definitely, they definitely should be a favorite. Maybe they're just favored a little too heavily there, but I don't have a strong read on that game at all. Colorado at Washington. Colorado actually won the game yesterday, which I thought Colorado was in kind of a letdown spot after they beat up on Atlanta's bullpen and won 10-1, and Washington just got swept at home. But sometimes streaks continue, man, and Washington has lost a lot of games in a row now. 9 games in a row, I think they've lost now. Very bad for Washington. They blew the game yesterday, too. Colorado scored 3 runs in the 9th inning to beat Washington when Washington was winning the game going into the 9th inning. Finnegan, their closer, blew it. And he's one of their better relief pitchers. Washington, terrible bullpen overall. Both of these teams have terrible bullpens. You got to think this is a bounce-back spot for Washington here, though. I mean, after getting embarrassed again, I mean, I know if you like Washington, you're fading a loss streak. Anytime you fade Colorado, you have to pay way too much of a price for it. I understand that. Washington should win this game, but are you laying too much of a price for it? Probably. I mean, you're looking at a line that's up from -178 to -192, but the money does look like it is on Washington. 78% of tickets, 96% of the cash coming in on Washington. And again, I have to agree with it. I mean, the way they lost last night, I think they're just going to be really angry. I mean, it's stupid. I mean, you can't lose to Colorado at home, man. Senzatella is pitching for Colorado today, and he's possibly the worst starting pitcher in all of baseball. 7.23 ERA, 2.03 whip. He's allowing more than 2 base runners per inning over the course of the entire season. I mean, can't they find somebody better than this? It's crazy, man. On the road, his ERA is actually a little bit better with a 6.83, but he has a 4.08 batting average against him away from home, which is almost, I mean, it's hard to believe that his numbers are that bad. He's not even made it 5 innings in 4 straight starts. He gave up 7 runs last time out against a Giants offense that really is not very good, although now they have Devers, so they will improve a little bit, but still really, really ridiculous there. Senzatella is awful, man. And against Washington, not good numbers in 38 at-bats, 4-4 strikeout walk ratio, 421 average, and 1,029 OPS. He has terrible numbers against Washington. Washington has Michael Soroka starting. 5.14 ERA, really bad, but 1.12 whip kind of tells a different story. I think he's actually been better than his ERA suggests. I mean, over the course of the season, he has a 40-10 strikeout walk ratio. That's not bad. Allowing fewer than 1 hit per inning. He's been kind of hurt by the home runs, man. 8 home runs allowed is way too many home runs. And it happened again last time out against the Mets. He was on the road against the Mets. I mean, the Mets are a very formidable offense, so you can give him a pass for not having a great start there. But he did walk 3 guys, which is a little bit concerning. Gave up 2 home runs. Still somehow limited them to 4 runs. So he actually kind of limited the damage there and kept his team in the game. So Soroka really hasn't been that bad. Start before that, he struck out 7. He's pitching okay. That was against Texas, though. Texas not that good. He's been better at home, 3.71 ERA at home. And against Colorado, he has good numbers, but a very small sample size of 11. A 182 average against a 580 OPS because he has allowed 2 walks to the 3 strikeouts. Soroka definitely is the better of the 2 starters there. So all that being said, yeah, I mean, a slight lean to Washington there. You'd have to lay... well, maybe the way to do this actually is not to lay like a run line or anything like that. Maybe go with a team total again. Go Washington over their team total in this game. Might be the way to do it because Senzatella just has such awful numbers overall and on the road and against Washington. So I think maybe that's the way to go, is to just go with Washington to beat his ass. Anaheim at the Yankees. The Yankees lost in extra innings, 1-0. Yankees have been shut out 2 games in a row, and the Red Sox have shut out their opponent 2 games in a row. Yankees, I think they're in a bit of a hangover spot, man, coming off that series against the Red Sox, and they were in a return home spot. So expected that the Yankees were not in the greatest spot there. They lost in the 11th inning yesterday, even though they out-hit Anaheim. This is probably a bounce-back spot now, man. I mentioned Soriano, how Soriano, I believe he's like way better on the road, if I'm not mistaken. I'll have to go look that up again, but I thought he might turn in a good performance last night, and he did. So Soriano was very good for the Angels last night. I think that this is a spot where probably you got to look to the Yankees here. It's a spot where I think the Yankees bounce back. Nate, what's up, man? Usually when a team returns home from a road trip, especially in that case, you can explain it even more because it was a letdown or hangover spot off of playing the Red Sox. When that happens and you have a bad game in that game, you tend to bounce back with a vengeance in the next game. So I do think the Yankees are probably the right side here. You know, I usually don't have any problem fading Kyle Hendricks either. I don't think he's a very good pitcher for Anaheim here. I liked fading him when he was on the Cubs, and I thought his career was over, but he has actually put in some good performances for Anaheim this year. Overall, he hasn't been good, though. 5.2 ERA, 1.32 whip. Anaheim did win his last 2 outings, though, and he went 6 innings in each of them, but he still only struck out 5 guys. His strikeout rate is very low, 5-3 strikeout walk ratio. Gave up too many hits, too, in those outings. 15 hits in 12 innings. It did allow 6 earned runs. So he was mediocre in those starts. He's been worse on the road, 6.37 ERA on the road. So he can get beat up on the road. He's facing a really good Yankees offense. Although Hendricks actually has done fairly well against them throughout his career, and 104 at-bats against these Yankees hitters. 22-8 strikeout walk ratio, 240 average, 679 OPS. So Hendricks' numbers actually aren't that bad against the Yankees. Yeah, none of them in particular really beat him up or anything. So maybe Hendricks won't actually have that bad of a start here. He's up against Will Warren, who's been a real mixed bag for the Yankees. 4.86 ERA, 1.37 whip. Those are not good numbers. He did have a 5 2/3 inning shutout last time out with 4 strikeouts. So he kind of bounced back from a bad start against the Red Sox where he walked 4 guys. Probably should have allowed more runs in that game than he did to the Red Sox, to be honest. And he was even worse against the Dodgers the game before that. Got absolutely annihilated by the Dodgers on the road. He did bounce back in his last outing, but it was against a Kansas City offense that basically can't hit the broadside of a barn right now. Kansas City not good. but it is at least still a bounce back spot, and maybe it'll give Warren some confidence coming into this one. He is facing an Anaheim offense that's not that good, and in a small sample size of 11 at-bats, Anaheim has not done much against them. They have a 182 average and 853 OPS. It's a high OPS, but that's entirely because Nito is 1 for 2 off him with a double, a home run, and 6 RBIs. So if you want to look for a player prop, you could look for Nito specifically to do well against Warren here. But other than that, Anaheim, none of their other hitters even ever have had a hit against Will Warren. So I don't think that overall OPS that he's allowed is that bad when it all comes from one guy. So I don't think Warren's going to do as bad here. I would slightly lean to the Yankees, but you're always going to have to pay a price for the Yankees. The money has come in on them. They're up from minus 190 to minus 235. 92% of tickets, 98% of the cash coming in on the Yankees. It's a lot of cash coming in on the Yankees. You're always paying too much of a price for the Yankees. You're almost never going to get value playing the Yankees, which is why I rarely do. Depends on the situation, of course, and the number. If you do want the Yankees in some way here, because it is a good bounce back spot for them, you could look for their team total to go over, but I hesitate with that too because Hendricks does have good numbers against them. Anaheim's bullpen is terrible, though. Yankees have the better bullpen and obviously the better offense, so if you're looking for Yankees team total over, Anaheim's bullpen might be bad enough that you might still get there as long as they touch Hendricks up a little bit. So maybe that is the way to look at this game, but I still would not want to deal with it or do anything with it. And money is coming in on the over as well a little bit. 72% of tickets, 96% of cash on a total that's pretty high at 9, which we know this is a hitter-friendly park. We have a bad bullpen and kind of a mediocre bullpen in this game. 1 really good offense and 2 somewhat questionable pitchers, so maybe an over. Somewhat worth a look there. It's not a game that I want anything to do with, though. Arizona's at Toronto. By the way, I forgot to mention Arizona. When Corbin Burns got hurt, he's out for the season, actually. So that's a huge blow to Arizona. Arizona, definitely a competitive team, very good offensively, but their bullpen sucks, and a lot of their starters have been struggling. Corbin Burns was their best starter, man. He was the guy that they got this year to be their new ace, and he was becoming that, and now he's going to have Tommy John surgery, I'm pretty sure. It's just awful, man, because I kind of like Burns. It's just awful that that's happening to him, man. So he's going to be gone for the season. And Tommy John, when you're, like somewhere, how old is Burns? Like in his early 30s maybe or something? When you have Tommy John surgery that late into your career, a lot of times it's not a good thing, man. So very, very unfortunate for Burns. I hope he comes back and that he bounces back, man. David, what's up, man? Thanks for showing up. Thanks for hanging out. Toronto and Arizona here, though. We have Toronto returning home from a road trip, a long road trip, where they went to Minnesota, St. Louis, and Philadelphia. And they were hot until they faced Philadelphia this time. They got swept by Philadelphia, and they got beat up. They allowed 8 and 11 runs in 2 of those 3 games. So Toronto, after going on a real hot streak, they had a bad series there. Now they're returning home from a road trip. I think a lot of times the sentiment will be, well, Toronto's still a hot team. They'll bounce back now that they're home, but I don't think so, man. As I always say, when you return home from a long road trip like that, a lot of times you get distracted. You have to return to family life. You got stuff to do. Arizona, even though they're a fairly good team, they might not pay total attention to Arizona just because Arizona has a bad record right now. They haven't been playing that well. So I don't know. It seems like a distraction spot to me for Toronto here. Toronto was really improving after a bad start to the season. Their bullpen had become a lot better at the point where they're now like right there in kind of the mid-range bullpens. Their offense had gotten a lot better as well. With their offense, where's their offense at? Yeah, right now, batting average-wise, they're actually 5th in the league, although their OPS is a little bit lower than that, which I want to arrange this by OPS, man. But Toronto's offense is still kind of crept up into like the mid-range offenses. So Toronto is playing better, which was kind of expected. I mean, they're not as bad as they were playing earlier in the season. This is a bad spot for them, though. Arizona's coming off having a win streak halted, though. They'd won 5 games in a row, and then they finally lost to San Diego. So I don't know that Arizona's really in the best spot either, though. When you have a win streak halted and you're coming off a big divisional series like that against San Diego, even though, yeah, they are starting a road trip, and a lot of times it's a good spot when you start a road trip. You tend to be focused. But coming off a big game like that and losing a win streak against San Diego, and it kind of takes a little bit away from that. So I don't love Arizona as much in this spot. I think it's a bad spot for Toronto, but it's not a terrific spot for Arizona either. Brandon Pfaadt is pitching for the Diamondbacks. He's not having a good season. 5.5 ERA, 1.42 whip. That's not good. Coming off a decent start against Seattle. His team won his last 2 starts, but the start before that, he got lit up by Atlanta, and they just won because they scored so many runs in that game. Was that actually the game where they made the huge comeback late, which I don't ever want to think about again? Oh, yeah, of course it was. It was the game where Arizona scored 7 runs in the 9th inning. It was that game. Never want to think about that again. And Atlanta got rid of Blewett right after that. Man, Atlanta, that bullpen, man, I don't even know. That was a game I had given out a play on Atlanta in that game, and they were winning by 6 runs in the 9th inning and lost. Just ridiculous. But yeah, Brandon Pfaadt started that game. He did not do well. He just hasn't been good. He's been worse on the road, too. 6.94 ERA on the road. Again, he's not really in good form right now, though he had a decent start against Seattle, so maybe he's kind of returning to form. I mean, he had 2 atrocious starts prior to that. He was doing moderately well prior to that, though. I mean, he had allowed more than 4 earned runs only one other time prior to that. So, I mean, he's not really as bad as all these numbers look. So, at least there's that. Against Toronto, they haven't seen much of him. They're 2 for 4 off him lifetime with a strikeout, 500 average, 1,000 OPS. Most of their lineup has never even seen him before. So, maybe Pfaadt does have a little bit of an edge here against a lineup that never has actually faced him before. He's up against Chris Bassett, who has been pitching pretty well for Toronto. He has a 3.7 ERA this year, but a 1.31 whip. Gives me some pause, man. I mean, that whip is not good. He's walking too many guys. He's putting too many guys on base. His ERA this month is good, 3.21 in 2 starts. He went 7 innings in each of them against Philadelphia, who's a good offense, holding them to 1 run. And then on the road at St. Louis, gave up 4 runs, but he did give up a home run. He still went 7 innings. It wasn't a terrible outing for Bassett, but over this month, a 9-4 strikeout walk ratio worries me. I mean, he's not striking out a lot of guys this month, and his walk rate is bad. So last month, actually, he had a higher ERA in May, but like his strikeout walk ratio was really good. And now it seems like the opposite is happening, where he has a decent ERA this month, but a bad strikeout walk ratio. So what do we expect from Bassett? I don't even really know. He's good at home, 2.48 ERA at home. So we are getting him at home here. We're getting him against the Arizona D-backs. They have 63 at-bats against him. Mediocre numbers, 270 average, 694 OPS. So Bassett has done okay against Arizona. So I don't really want anything to do with it, man, even though I usually like to look to fade teams returning home from road trips, but I'll just stay away from this one. It does look like the money line has moved that way a little bit. Toronto down from -125 to -115. 68% of tickets and cash on Toronto. I think the public is probably looking at this and thinking, well, Toronto should bounce back now they're back at home. They have the better record, so I think the public is kind of just looking at that and thinking, well, that's what we want to go with. They may be wrong in a spot like this because you really don't want to be on teams that return home from road trips typically. Toronto does have a good home record, though, 22-13 at home. So if you fade Toronto, you are having to fade a team that is pretty good at home. Moving on to Minnesota and Cincinnati. By the way, Arizona and Toronto did not play yesterday, I believe. And as far as Yankees and Anaheim, by the way, they played yesterday into extra innings, so that kind of hurts the bullpens a little more than it would otherwise. Minnesota at Cincinnati, neither of these teams played yesterday. We don't have any situation today, by the way, where there was a team that played yesterday against a team that didn't. All the teams that are playing today that played yesterday are playing the same teams. They all started those series yesterday. Minnesota at Cincinnati. Minnesota, they're coming in from Houston. They just got swept at Houston. They've lost 4 games in a row. Minnesota definitely has gone cold. They have not been playing well recently. Their offense has been very bad. Maybe they'll bounce back here, though. I mean, changing venues is never really a bad thing. Going to Cincinnati here. Cincinnati might be feeling a little bit high on themselves because they just beat Cleveland, their in-state rival, taking 5 of 6 games from them this season. And then they beat Detroit as well in Detroit, which is not easy to do, scoring a ton of runs in those last 2 games, 19 runs over the last 2, and now they're returning home from a road trip. although the road trip only took them to Cleveland and Detroit, so it wasn't a long road trip. It is still a road trip return, though, and maybe they'll be in a little bit of a letdown coming back from doing that to Detroit. I mean, that's big because Detroit has a really good record. So Cincinnati probably not in the greatest spot here. Minnesota maybe in a little bit of a better spot, but you are trying to jump in front of a Minnesota losing streak if you do want Minnesota here. David Festa is pitching for Minnesota. Numbers haven't been that great so far. 4.76 ERA, 1.32 whip, but he's a young guy who's still trying to make his way in the league, and he did have a 6-inning, 2-run outing last time out against a bad Texas offense, but still pretty solid outing for him. He only struck out 4, but not a bad outing. So Festa, I mean, he may be coming into form a little bit. He had one really bad start. Like, none of his other starts this season were that bad. His numbers are all being skewed by a really bad start at the A's stadium, and we know that A's stadium is very home run friendly. He gave up 3 home runs in that one. So he may be better than that. I mean, that start looks like an outlier to me because that stadium produces a lot of outliers. So I don't think Festa is as bad as that makes him look. He does have a 19.64 ERA on the road because of it. That was his only road start so far. Although, again, he is on the road here, and he's at a stadium that is pretty hitter-friendly as well in Cincinnati. So he may do bad still in Cincinnati. It kind of remains to be seen what we're going to get out of Festa, but he does have pretty decent strikeout stuff. So that's the one thing. Like, he does have good stuff, so he has potential. He has a fairly high ceiling. Up against Cincinnati, what do we got here? They have 10 at-bats against him. They have a 300 average and 917 OPS, so he hasn't done that well against Cincinnati. So I have some hesitations about Festa here. He's up against Andrew Abbott, who's been pitching really, really well this season. 1.87 ERA, 0.97 whip. So he's really kind of found himself this year, man. At the age of 26, Abbott having his best season by far. I mean, he's really, really doing well. But is he going to be in line for a letdown? Because he threw 110 pitches in his last outing, which is the most that he's thrown all season, in a 9-inning shutout against cross-state rival Cleveland. Had a really good start. Cleveland, not a very good team, though. He may be in line for a letdown after that, man. I mean, that was like a career performance for Abbott there. But he's been so good this year that he's actually had 5 shutout performances this season, I think is what that is. And he's allowed more than 1 earned run only twice all season. So Abbott has been really good. So I don't exactly want to jump in and fade Abbott here. His ERA is a little bit higher at home, 2.27 ERA, because it is a hitter-friendly park. Up against, who are we facing here? Minnesota. They haven't seen that much of him. They only have 8 at-bats against him. Only 3 of their hitters have seen him before, but they actually have done okay against him. 3 for 8, 2 walks, 2 strikeouts, 375 average, 875 OPS. Bride is the only one with any hits off him, 3 for 5, although France has 2 walks against him. So Abbott hasn't done that well against Minnesota, but Abbott is better right now than he has been before. I think he could be in line for a little bit more of a letdown, though, in this game. So, you know, considering all of that, my lean would still be to Minnesota. I mean, the market is agreeing with it. I think it is a fade spot for Cincinnati here. They're down for minus 130, minus 108. And I think maybe in doing that, you're looking for Abbott to maybe just regress a little bit just because that was such a career high for him and he threw so many pitches. He's thrown 100 pitches in 2 straight outings now, and maybe he's not quite used to that. He could have a little bit of a letdown here, but then again, I mean, Minnesota, I mean, their offense really isn't that good, so I still worry about it, but it looks like the money is coming in on Minnesota, and I don't really disagree with it. The number's down from minus 130, minus 108. 88% of tickets, only 75% of the cash, or 76% of the cash, excuse me. So Cincinnati is very public here with the way Minnesota's been playing recently, but the money is coming in against them. And the numbers also dropped a little bit from 9 to 8.5, basically. 69% of tickets on the over, 65% of the cash on the under. So the market read is basically telling you the odds makers are expecting Festa to pitch pretty well here. So I never really want to go under in Cincinnati. I mean, I've done it before, but I mean, it's such a hitter-friendly park, and I think there are some question marks with both starters here just because, again, Abbott in a bit of a letdown spot. Festa still kind of remains to be seen how good he's going to be. So I'm going to stay away from that too, but a slight lean to the under, I guess, too. I mean, the market is agreeing with it. I could see both starting pitchers doing fairly well here as well. Zach, what's up, man? You're Kansas City Royals, man. I don't know what's going to wind up happening with those guys, man. I do have a play in the Royals game, but you already know what it is if you saw the beginning of my show. So I'm going to get to that shortly. Mets at Atlanta. I believe neither of these teams played yesterday. By the way, with the unders, when you have teams that didn't play yesterday, that also helps the unders a bit because that means the bullpens are rested. So another little bit of a factor there in that Minnesota-Cincinnati game. And in this New York-Atlanta game, neither team played yesterday. Atlanta staying at home, and they just lost to Colorado. So I think they're going to be pretty angry, man. After losing 10-1 to Colorado, I think Atlanta's going to show up in this game. And, of course, they're facing the Mets, who are atop their division, whereas Atlanta is way far back in the division. So I think this game means more to Atlanta than it does to the Mets, although the Mets are coming off getting swept by Tampa Bay pretty ugly. Mets gave up a ton of runs in that series. They gave up, 21 runs in 3 games? Not good. Mets pitching really, really did not do well there. So I think maybe it is a positive that the Mets are just getting away from that and going out on the road now, getting swept at home by Tampa Bay. Pretty bad. So one of the best things you could do when that happens is just forget about it. Don't listen to what the media is saying about you. Because, New York, big media town, too. Just get it, media city. Just get out of there. Just go on the road. Focus on baseball. So I think it is a positive spot for the Mets as well. Mets have David Peterson on the mound, and I might have to begin saying that David Peterson is not as bad as I think he is. 2.49 ERA, and his whip is now 1.19, which is anything below 1.2, I'm going to start accepting it. He is coming off, speaking of shutouts, he's coming off a complete game shutout, just like Abbott is, a 9-inning shutout against Washington, who isn't the greatest offense, but a very impressive performance anyway. 6 strikeouts, no walks, gave up 6 hits. Very nice outing for Peterson. Is he going to have a letdown after that? I don't know, because he did throw the most pitches that he's thrown, 106, but he has thrown over 100 3 times, which he actually did 3 starts in a row, and he did not have any real letdowns in that mix there. So Peterson has just been pretty consistent, so I don't really think he's going to have a letdown. He's allowed more than 2 earned runs in any start only twice, and both times it was 3 earned runs. So he's been good. He's only slightly worse on the road, 2.9 ERA. Peterson, not really a guy I want to fade, but against Atlanta, what are his numbers here? He actually has pretty good numbers against Atlanta as well, even though they've seen a lot of him. 115 at-bats, 38-13 strikeout walk ratio. That is too many walks. He's allowed 7 home runs, which is pretty bad, which is why the OPS is high, but 4 of them are Matt Olson, and Matt Olson has no hits besides those home runs. So do with all that information what you will. Austin Riley, by the way, is the guy that hits him the best, 9 for 23 with 3 doubles, 3 walks, couple RBIs. So if you want to player prop, hits plus runs plus RBIs, Riley hits Peterson well. But overall, Peterson, 226 average against, 757 OPS against Atlanta. So his numbers, that OPS, like I said, is a little bit high, but that's mostly because of all those home runs from Olsen. So Peterson, I still think is in line to do well here. And he's up against Wnba, who is also coming off a complete game performance. So he allowed 2 runs against Milwaukee, struck out 9, gave up 5 hits. Still a really nice performance from Wnba. He's in really good form right now, man. He threw over 100 pitches as well, but he's done that before as well. I mean, yeah, it was a little bit more than what he's used to throwing, but I don't really think he's going to be in a letdown spot here after that. I mean, he's been consistent. He had 11 strikeouts, 2 starts in a row, and then 9, 2 starts later. He's in good form right now, man. 2.29 home ERA. Wnba really good at home. I think the spot is good for Atlanta. Wnba has a 3.11 ERA and 1 whip on the season. That's all good. And really nice numbers against the Mets in 44 at-bats. He's got a really clean sheet against the Mets. 10-1 strikeout walk ratio, 114 average, 315 OPS. So I lean to Atlanta and to the under in this game. I think it is a better spot for Atlanta. I think they have the better starter. The money seems to be disagreeing with that, although the Mets are also public. But that's the thing, man. I mean, when the Mets are a public underdog like that, I tend to be like, that's interesting, right? Because how could the Mets, who have such a better record than Atlanta, be an underdog, right, at Atlanta? That's the odds makers telling you. Well, Wnba is really, really good, so that's part of the reason why Braves are in a good situation here, I think, to bounce back. So even though I think both teams kind of are, which is why I don't really want to recommend a play on the Braves, both teams in a good spot here, but still, I think Atlanta's in the better spot, and I do like those spots where it's like a misleading line. Like, how could the Mets, be getting an underdog price like that? But also remember, the Mets are only one game above 500 on the road. The Braves actually have a better home record than the Mets' road record, so that might help the Braves a little bit as well. Atlanta down for minus 130, minus 129, but 61% of tickets, 88% on the cash on the Mets, though. So even though the Mets are public, it looks like some actual cash coming in on them as well. So market read seems to oppose me on that and on the totals. It looks like the total, a little bit less juice on the under 8.5. We have 68% of tickets and 52% on the cash on the under. So it looks like the money is actually coming in on the over, and I don't really agree with that. Unless you think both pitchers are going to be kind of in line for a letdown spot here. Both pitchers have decent numbers against the opposing lineups, and they've both been pretty much consistently good all year. So to me, it does look like an under spot. Both bullpens are rested. The Mets have a really good bullpen. Atlanta's bullpen, not so much, but at least because they're rested, and Wnba probably gets them deep into the game, would be my guess. I do think an under makes sense in that game. St. Louis at Chicago at the White Sox. Neither of these teams played yesterday. Either the White Sox are returning home from a road trip, which again, never really a good spot, even though they lost all but one game on the road trip. They've lost 5 in a row, getting swept by Texas. But they were close in like every one of these games, man. I mean, they got blown out once on the road trip, and they lost by 1 or 2 runs in every other loss. White Sox, they play a lot of close losses, man, which just sucks for them. But they're returning home from a road trip. Usually not a focus spot. For a bad team, like I said with Miami yesterday, sometimes it gets exacerbated in that return home spot, and the team really won't do well. St. Louis, I believe, is starting a road trip. No, they're continuing. Sorry. They were in Milwaukee. So they have very little travel here. So they have a travel advantage here, man, because all they're doing is basically traveling down the road from Miami to the White Sox to Chicago. So, not a huge travel spot for St. Louis at all here. So the spot sets up better for St. Louis. The starting pitching matchup, man, I'm going through puberty again here. Dude, my voice is dead right now. I don't know. The starting pitching matchup might not be as good for the Cardinals. Liberatore is pitching, and he's not been that good recently. His ERA is up to 4.17 after he was really good earlier in the season. 1.19 whip is not really bad, but, I mean, that's a pretty good whip, but he's been a little bit worse recently and on the road, 4.45 road ERA. Not that good. His last couple of starts, 3 starts in a row, he's been kind of ugly, man. He's allowed 4 or more in runs in all 3. Strikeout walk ratio was okay across those starts, 11-3. That's not that bad, but it's kind of a low strikeout rate, given that it was in 14 innings. So, I mean, take from all that what you will, but I think he's not in great form, especially because some of those starts were against Texas and Kansas City. Those are not good offenses. And then Toronto, I mean, they have a mediocre offense. He didn't do that well in that game either. So Liberatore, not really in his best form right now. The White Sox only have 9 at-bats against him, but they are 3 for 9 with a home run from Taylor off of him. 2-1 strikeout walk ratio, 333 average, 1,067 OPS. I know it's not a big sample size, but when he has faced the White Sox, he hasn't done that well. Shane Smith is pitching for the White Sox, and he is their best starter, despite being a rookie. He's been having a really nice season, 2.37 ERA, 1.17 whip. He's been better at home, too, slightly with a 2.18 ERA. He's been doing it, man. He is in better form with a .79 ERA this month over his last couple of starts. Bouncing back nicely from an ugly start against the Mets. He returned to form. Allowed 0 and 1 earned run in the last 2 starts, with 4 walks to 10 strikeouts in the last 2. So he did walk too many. His walk rate has gone up, so that worries me a little bit. Overall in the season, having a pretty nice season, though, overall with his numbers here, especially for a rookie. Pretty impressive, and the Cardinals have never seen it before, so I think Shane Smith is the better of the 2 starters here, but is that enough to counteract the fact that I think it's a bad spot for the White Sox on the return home spot? The White Sox have the worst bullpen, although St. Louis's bullpen is not really that good either. St. Louis does have the better offense, although, again, they're one of those offenses, they're up there. They have a really high batting average, but their team OPS is a little bit lower than that. So they're not quite as good as their average would suggest. The money is coming in on the White Sox, though. Looks like strong market read on the White Sox. St. Louis down from minus 137 to minus 136. I do agree that I think there is value taking the White Sox as a home underdog at a price like that. I don't think St. Louis should be laying a price like that, man. The White Sox A lot of times you're going to find value in them because they have so many losses, or they have so many close losses. I mean, if you want to go look for getting plus money on the or getting a plus 1.5 run line, you have to pay some juice on it, though. I mean, so you're not getting plus money on that. You're getting minus money on that if you want to do the 1.5 run line. But the White Sox, sometimes it's not a bad idea to do that with them because they lose a lot of one-run games. But 68% of the tickets are on St. Louis, 76% of cash coming in on the White Sox. So I guess the way that I would play this, if I was going to play it, the lean in that game would be to play the White Sox. I would probably just say fire on the money line, really. Just get them at the plus price at home. Hope it works out. But because the situation isn't that great, it's not going to be a play that makes my card or anything. But that's I would lean that way. Finally, we'll get to a couple of the games that I have. I'm going to go Kansas City, Texas, under the 8.5. I like the under in this game, man. I mean, first of all, both teams didn't play yesterday, so that's good. That means you have rested bullpens. Secondly, you have two pretty good bullpens here. You have Texas fifth in I'm looking at. Well, we'll look at hitting first. Texas is bottom 5 hitting, so that's also good. We're gonna look at two offenses that aren't really that good here. Texas, 5th worst team batting average, really down in the dregs batting average wise. And their OPS is actually really, really low as well. They have one of the worst team OPSs in all baseball. So they actually have a really bad offense. Kansas City, they're actually higher in batting average, but their OPS is actually really low as well. So Kansas City does still qualify as one of the lowest. That's why I want to arrange this by OPS, man, because you're looking at these two teams having two of the lowest OPSs in baseball. They're both really bad offenses, and they're both good bullpens. Texas right here, in the top third of bullpen ERA, 3.4, not bad. Kansas City right above them, 3.5. So you get two good bullpens, two bad offenses, two bullpens that are rested. We're starting to build the recipe for the under here. It's starting to look pretty good for an under already. We got Seth Lugo pitching for Kansas City. Overall having a good season, 3.18 ERA, 1.15 whip. 1.69 ERA in 2 starts this month. He's only allowed 2 earned runs, coming off a shutout performance against the Yankees, although I do worry that he's walked too many guys recently. 7-5 strikeout walk ratio. He's not really a strikeout pitcher, but he usually keeps guys off the base paths, so he's got to keep those walk numbers down a little bit. But against the Yankees, I mean, a lot of guys struggle against the Yankees, and he still basically had a pretty good start there, though, allowing only 2 hits. So I'm going to consider that to be okay, and we're going to just move forward with Seth Lugo here. Lugo hasn't allowed more than 4 earned runs in any start all season. He's only done that twice. So he's been pretty consistent in limiting the damage all year, even though his team has lost 4 of his starts in a row. I mean, of course, we know his team can't score any runs, so that's part of the reason why. He is a little bit worse on the road, though, the 4.07 road ERA, but that's still not that bad. And again, he's up against a bad Rangers lineup. And by the way, only 3 of the Rangers hitters have ever even faced Lugo before. So even though Lugo has been in the league for forever, he's been in the National League quite a bit, I think. I think he was on San Diego or whatever. Is that right? Let me make sure I'm right. No, Mets and San Diego. Yeah, it was mostly the Mets and then San Diego. So the Rangers have not seen much of him at all. And the guys that have seen him are 0 for 9 off him. Although with 2 walks, 1 strikeout, but still 0 average, 182 OPS. I know it's a really small sample size, but also it means that the rest of the Rangers lineup has never even seen Lugo before. So Lugo might have an extra edge. Again, these pitchers, when you know that they're like a pretty decent pitcher, when these hitters haven't even seen them before, a lot of times the hitters will struggle against them. Although with Lugo, he's not like a pitcher that's a mystery, though. So there's a lot of game footage on him. There is going to be information out there about how you should approach Lugo, so maybe it's less of an advantage to him. But still, the guys that have seen him are 0 for 9 off him. And he's going up against Jack Leiter, who is starting to pitch pretty well this season, man. Might turn into something here. He's 25 years old, starting to pitch better. 3.88 ERA, 1.24 whip, not bad. He walked too many guys in his last outing, though, against Minnesota. Had a pretty bad outing, 4 walks. The couple of starts before that, he'd allowed 1 earned run across both starts, going at least 5 innings in those. So he was starting to turn it around. I know he's not in great form, I wouldn't say right now, because of that bad start against a pretty bad Minnesota lineup. So I am a little bit worried about his current form, but other than that, his numbers are pretty good. 3.54 ERA at home, so he's been better at home. And he's facing a bad Royals lineup. And by the way, Leiter does have this unfamiliarity edge here because he's really young. The Royals have never seen him before except for Kana, even though I know he's 2 for 2 off him with an RBI and a walk, which doesn't look good, but the rest of the Royals team has never even seen Leiter before. So I think the makings are there for an under in this game. And again, you have 2 weak offenses, 2 good bullpens. Both bullpens are rested, and both starters I think are good enough to get us through the early portion of this game as well. So under is the play. Full game under, recipe for it here. Total is flipped from 8.5 juice to the over, 8.5 juice to the under. We do have the public ticket percentage on the under, 88% of tickets on the under. But is the public really even paying attention to this game, man? I would say probably not. And 99% of the tickets are on the under. So I think the money is agreeing with me coming in on the under. The money is also coming in on Texas for what it's worth, up from -122 to -130. 68% of tickets, 92% of the cash coming in on them. But at least what that tells me is that the money is kind of expecting Leiter to not pitch that badly in this game. So I like that indicator as well, that we may not be taking away that much from his bad performance last time out. So I like it. Again, I don't think the public is really getting involved in this game very much one way or the other. As far as Texas being the team that the money is coming in on, I mean, I don't know. I mean, they are on a win streak right now, 4 straight wins and staying at home. Kansas City, I forgot to look at the situation here. Kansas City is starting a road trip after losing 6 straight games, getting swept by the Yankees, which is acceptable at least, and then by the A's, maybe not very acceptable. So Kansas City, I don't know if I agree with the Texas side because it's probably that money is all just following the hot streaks here. So a lot of times, baseball is a streaky sport. So if you have a team on a huge loss streak against a team on a huge win streak, a lot of times that the streaks will continue. But I'm the type of guy that kind of wants to fade the streaks, man. I'm a contrarian. That's what I do. Try to identify a spot where the streak will end, and maybe the situation sets up for that here. With Kansas City starting a road trip off a really ugly home performance, I think it's actually a good spot for Kansas City starting the road trip, whereas Texas just staying at home, kind of basking in it, even though it was the White Sox. I mean, not very impressive to sweep them, but still, Texas might be feeling a little bit better about themselves. So I actually don't really agree with the Texas side there, but I like the under, obviously. Zach, Lugo. I don't even know what nationality he is because he looks like a white guy, but Lugo, I mean, he must be Latino, right? He's from Louisiana. He's got to be Latino, but he looks like he's white. I don't know. Milwaukee at the Cubs. This is an interesting one. I kind of like this game, man. Just as far as the starting pitching matchup intrigues me. These teams did not play yesterday either. So we have rested bullpens. Milwaukee's bullpen, not very good. Chicago's bullpen, the Cubs' bullpen has gotten a bit better throughout the course of the season. But this starting pitching matchup is pretty intriguing with Chad Patrick on the mound for the Brewers. He's a rookie. Pretty good so far this season. 3.25 ERA. 1.26 whip is a little bit high. He did walk 6 guys over his last 2 outings, but he also struck out 14, so he was getting a lot of strikeouts. So that means he's throwing hard. He can strike out major league hitters, but he is walking too many guys. He did give up 5 runs against Atlanta. Part of it was because he allowed 2 home runs, though. So he's not in the greatest form right now, but I think he is still pitching pretty well, and he has good strikeout stuff. He's been a little bit worse on the road, 3.86 ERA. But against the Cubs, obviously, they've never seen him before, so he might have a little bit of an edge, but the Cubs are a very good offense, so he is going to have to contend with a really good offense, the best offense that he's seen so far. He did pretty well against Philadelphia, though, and Philadelphia is almost at that level, so maybe he will actually do well in this game, and that was on the road as well. So Patrick might step it up in these big games, man. We'll have to see what happens there, but I think he does have an edge because he's a young, hard-throwing pitcher who the opposing offense has not seen before. So I think Patrick has a little bit of an edge there. He's up against Ben Brown, who I actually think Brown's numbers are not really telling the whole story. 5.71 ERA, 1.47 whip. Had a bad outing last time out, but it was at Philly. We know they're a good hitting offense. He walked 3 guys, gave up 6 earned runs, 1 home run. Wasn't a good performance, but I mean, he's had a few really, really bad performances in there. He's like a roller coaster, man. He's feast or famine, basically. He either really pitches well or really pitches terribly, and there's like no in between. So that's the risk with Brown, is you got to try to identify, is he going to pitch really well or is he going to suck? But his strikeout walk ratio has been good, like basically the whole year, man. 83 strikeouts, a really high strikeout rate, and only 23 walks. The problem is he's allowed way too many hits and a lot of home runs, 8 home runs, 10 more hits in innings pitched. That's been the deal, man. He has a really nice strikeout rate. He's got to stop being so hittable. That's the problem. He gets hit hard. So he's got to keep that in check. Against the Brewers, he does have good numbers in 36 at-bats, 13-2 strikeout walk ratio, no extra base hits allowed, 111 average, and 269 OPS. So Ben Brown has actually dominated them. So my lean in this game would be to an under. And you could go full game under because both bullpens are rested here in this game. Milwaukee's bullpen is a little bit of a concern, but they are rested. So full game under or first 5 under, either one of those. Maybe first 5 is a little bit better if you just don't want to deal with the bullpens. You think the starting pitching matchup is good for it. You could go with the first 5 inning under as well at a pretty nice price of probably you're going under 4.5, maybe even 5, because the total's at 9. It's gone down a little bit with 62% of tickets on the under and 64% of the cash on the under. I don't buy that the public is playing an under in a Brewers-Cubs game. I just don't buy that, but I do buy that the money is coming in on the under. But the one other worry is that when you see a total of 9 at Wrigley Field, that usually means the wind is blowing out because the wind has more of an effect at Wrigley Field than in any other stadium. Let me look at the weather report here just to confirm that is the case here. Let me see. Where are the Cubs here? Oh, sorry, I have this up on a different screen, whatever. It looks like possibility of rain, 9-mile-an-hour wind blowing out, but rain is more under conducive, but the wind blowing out is more over conducive, so the weather is kind of going both ways there. But I think if it's a rainy day, that's a little bit better for an under as well. So I would lean that way. The game might get rained out too. So I'm not going to recommend a play on it, but I lean to the under in that game, either in the first 5 or the full game. My Boston Red Sox at Seattle. Of course, the Red Sox won yesterday. Seattle lost their little win streak they had. Their Red Sox 2-0 win. I don't know how it happened, man. I don't know how Giolito pitched this well. Red Sox did use the back end of their bullpen yesterday, though their better relievers finished the game off yesterday. So the Red Sox don't have their best relievers available now. Mariners have some of their better bullpen still, relievers still available here. The Mariners have the better bullpen over the Red Sox, so the Red Sox bullpen has improved a bit. So the bullpen situation is not really that significant one way or the other. Walker Buehler is pitching for the Red Sox here. He's not having a good season. 5.01 ERA, 1.38 whip. I don't trust him, man. He's coming off a good start against Tampa where he struck out 7 and went 7 innings. Prior 3 starts, or at least 2 starts, were pretty bad against the Yankees in Atlanta. It's almost like he's just pitching right at the level of his competition, but the problem is that Seattle, I mean, they're a mediocre offense. So, like, is he going to do mediocre in this game, and what does that even mean? I don't know. On the road, Buehler's been a lot worse, too. 7.43 road ERA. Granted, one of those was a really bad start in the Bronx, which is against a really good offense in a very hitter-friendly environment. So that is not what he's going to be facing here. Seattle with a weaker offense in a pitcher-friendly environment. So he probably won't do that bad, but he has been worse on the road. His numbers are good against Seattle, though, in 33 at-bats. 8-4 strikeout walk ratio is not that good, but he's held to a 152 average and 486 OPS. So Buehler does have good matchup numbers against Seattle. And he's up against Brian Wu, who is a pretty good pitcher and one that I tend to like to bet on. 3.39 ERA, 0.98 whip. Very good whip on the season, below 1. 2.53 home ERA. Wu, pretty good pitcher, although the Red Sox actually saw him this year. So the Red Sox have a little bit of an edge in that regard, where when a team has seen that pitcher once, which was in late April, so not too long ago, whereas Buehler, I think, was hurt and whatever. So I think Seattle never saw Buehler. So the recent familiarity for the hitting is more on the Red Sox side here. But Wu did do well, even though it was in Fenway, which is a hitter-friendly park. Wu had 8 strikeouts, went 6 innings, allowing 2 earned runs, including a home run, so he really limited the damage. 3 hits, allowed 1 walk. He pitched well in that game against the Red Sox. Overall, he has good numbers against the Red Sox. I think it was only that start. 17 at-bats, 8 strikeouts, a 167 average, 471 OPS. But the one thing is that because that was the first time these guys faced Brian Wu, that does maybe mean that the Red Sox were at the biggest disadvantage possible against Wu in that one because they had never seen him before. And now that they have seen him fairly recently, they might actually do a little bit better against him this time. So I would hesitate to play Seattle in the bounce back spot, although the money is coming in that way, even though they're down from -165 to -162, which does look like a hefty price. But with Brian Wu on the mound, I mean, some of these Seattle pitchers are quite good, man, especially at home. 52% of tickets are on the Red Sox, public on the Red Sox. I mean, it makes sense. Name recognition, and also yesterday, they did well yesterday. 66% of the cash, though, coming in on Seattle. So the real money is coming in at Seattle. I don't disagree with it. The under might be a better look here. Very low total, though. 7.5 down to 7.5 juice to the under now. 50% of tickets on the under, 75% of cash on the under. Money is coming in on the under. The odds makers are telling you probably is going to be a low-scoring game. Wu, I do pretty much expect him to do well again here. Buehler does have at least good numbers against Seattle, so maybe he'll turn in a decent performance as well. The Red Sox bullpen, again, is a little bit of a concern because they used some of their better relievers yesterday. So you could go first 5 inning under, but if you do that, you probably have to go under like 3.5. So that's a little bit of a concern as well. I mean, that would be a pretty low number without a lot of room for error there, but probably a slight lean towards one of those unders. I won't do it, though. What I will do, the final play I'm going to give out is Cleveland, San Francisco. We're going to jump back on the San Francisco under train here, man. We're going to go under 7.5, which you can get at -120 out there. I know you'd have to pay a little bit for it, but I think it's worth it to get the hook. You can go under 7 at like +100, but I think getting the hook is worth going up to -120 for it. Because then if the game lands exactly 7, which is a key number because it breaks the 3-3 tie, you'll win the bet instead of pushing it. So I think it is potentially worth it to do that. Now, I like the under for numerous reasons here. First of all, both teams were off yesterday. So we got 2 teams that were off yesterday. So that means the bullpens are rested. The hitting is not very good on either side, of course. We see San Francisco here. They're in the bottom third in batting average, but they're even worse in OPS, basically. They're in the bottom, well, basically about the same, actually. They're bottom third OPS as well. Basically, like bottom several teams in both. And Cleveland, surprisingly, has actually been a bad offense as well. They're right in the same line as San Francisco. Very similar numbers, even worse OPS, actually, for Cleveland. So Cleveland's offense has actually been surprisingly bad. So we actually have 2 bad offenses here. We have 2 good bullpens, especially San Francisco. Very good. San Francisco has the best bullpen ERA this year by almost half a run against all of the rest of baseball, which is really insane. That's how they've been doing it, man. San Francisco has a terrible offense, but their pitching has been really good. And Cleveland, yeah, I mean, they're more middle of the pack, I guess, bullpen-wise. So not a great bullpen, but not terrible. 3.73 bullpen ERA. Rested bullpen as well, so that's decent. Another thing I like about this is that, of course, the big trade news. Everybody's going to want to play on the Giants and on like them to score a lot. I don't know if Devers is going to be in the lineup here. He probably will be, I guess, because the trade happened 2 days ago. So I expect Devers will be there and in the lineup for San Francisco. So that's going to be another thing where people are going to be like, oh, if Devers is there now, we don't want to play this game under. San Francisco's offense is fixed, whatever. I mean, yeah, he's going to help their offense, but it's one guy. You know what I mean? So, and it might take time. He's got to adjust to his new environment. So it's almost like the reverse injured player theory, but it's something I talk about when a star player comes into a new team. A lot of times you want to look to fade that team. I think it's less so in baseball, though, because it's one guy in a 9-guy lineup. He only gets so many at bats. So he's, less of a factor than it would be if it's like a quarterback or a star basketball player, but still a little bit of a factor. So just a little bit of an extra factor. And that is certainly not like what's deciding this play for me, but it's just a little bit of extra like gravy for it here, where it's a little bit of a way to fade Devers being in the lineup there is to play the under in this game. But remember, San Francisco, they were an absolute under machine because their pitching is really good and their hitting sucks. Until recently, they had a few games go over, but they had like probably 19 of 21 games go under the total for a while. Giants, they're in a bad spot, though, actually. So I do agree with actually fading the Giants here as well. They're returning home from a road trip, but they went into Colorado. They played 2 divisional opponents, Colorado in high elevation, and then they came back down and they faced the Dodgers, and they lost to the Dodgers on Sunday Night Baseball, no less, 5-4 after blowing an early lead in the game. Very, very difficult to get over that. So I think the Giants are in a bad spot, returning home from the road trip and having to deal with that, like being in a hangover spot, basically. Spot's a lot better for Cleveland, who were already on the Pacific Coast in Seattle and got swept and got shut out in their last game. So they might be a little bit angry. So I like Cleveland in this game as well here. But the return home spot, I think, also does affect the hitting. I think it can lead to distracted hitting, and I think that is the way to go in this game. Looking at the starting pitching, Slade Ciccone is pitching for Cleveland. He's new to their team this year, and he hasn't made that many starts yet. 4.26 ERA, 1.34 WHIP. Nothing to really write home about there, but he's only allowed more than 3 earned runs once, which was kind of an inexplicably bad start against Anaheim. But other than that, he's gone at least 5 innings in every start, allowed 3 or fewer earned runs in every start. In his last outing, he had an 8 strikeout performance, 1 earned run, 1 walk, 4 hits allowed against Cincinnati in 5 innings. So that's a good start. He's got a good strikeout rate so far, more than 1 per inning. Pretty decent strikeout walk rate. Really, the problem is the home runs. And he finally didn't allow any. He allowed a home run in every start until the Cincinnati one, and he finally didn't. So I think he's kind of coming into form a little bit here, man. Even though, yeah, I worry about the home runs, but 3 of them were in that Anaheim game. So I worry a little bit less about that. He's actually been better on the road, 3.38 road ERA this year, which included road starts in Great American Ballpark at the Yankees, at Yankee Stadium, and at Detroit. Like, none of those are easy starts, man. Facing teams that are good at home, good offenses in there, hitter-friendly parks. So I think Ciccone is actually pretty good. I liked him before, man. I thought he was going to become something. And the Giants haven't seen that much of him, even though he was on the D-backs. So he was in the Giants division. They only have 3 hitters who have ever seen him before. And Yaz has a home run off him, which is skewing his OPS a little bit. But other than that, which I consider to be a little bit more of an outlier. The numbers aren't that good. It's a very small 9 at-bat sample size, but they're 2 for 9, 222 average, 2 strikeouts, no walks, and of course an 889 OPS because of that 1 home run. But I think those numbers set up well for Ciccone, and it does mean that this Giants offense that isn't really that good. They've never seen Ciccone before other than that, so I think he has a little bit of an extra edge for that reason. And then Robbie Ray is pitching, and I just don't really want to fade Ray right now, man. I mean, he's having an inexplicably good season. It is what it is. 2.55 ERA, 1.12 WHIP. Did have not a great start last time out, but the defense kind of hurt him, and it was at Coors Field. So I consider that to be more of an outlier. He went 4 innings, didn't allow any home runs. 5-2 strikeout walk ratio is not that bad. But the defense definitely hurt him behind him, and he threw too many pitches and got taken out of the game. But they at least didn't overextend him. But I'll give him a pass just because it was Coors Field. And he only gave up 2 earned runs. 2 of the runs were unearned. Over the course of the entire season, he's only allowed more than 3 earned runs once. And it was at Philadelphia, who are really good offense. So for the most part, he's been pretty good, especially against some of the weaker offenses that he's faced. Even some better offenses, he's been pretty good. But his worst starts were against like the Yankees, Philadelphia, other than the Colorado one. I mean, those are really good offenses. So I'm not as worried about Ray there. At home, a 2 ERA. He's been really good at home as well. Against Cleveland, this is what kind of decided it for me, where I'm like, I don't want to play Cleveland here. I want to play the under instead. 54 at-bats against Cleveland. Too many walks, 7 walks, 14 strikeouts is pretty good. He's held to a 185 batting average, though it's still a really low 501 OPS, even though he has allowed 7 walks. 5 of them are Hedges, who's only 2 for 25 off him with 11 strikeouts. So he has actually dominated Hedges. It's just too many walks given up to him, but still, I like how it sets up. For all those reasons, man, the under is where we're going to go here. We have 68% of the tickets, 70% now on the over, 54% of the cash on the under, though. The money is coming in on the under. It's driven it down from 7.5 juice to the under to 7 juice to the over now, so a slight move downward. So you got to grab the under at the best number that you can, man. I do still lean to Cleveland slightly. The number is agreeing. The money's agreeing with that too. The line's down from -160 to -146. 93% of tickets, only 63% of the cash on San Francisco. So people like San Francisco. They like the Devers stuff. So Cleveland also might be a way to play this game. For some reason, I never play both a side and a total in the same game. I just go with what I think is the best way to look. because usually like one kind of excludes the other. That's just kind of the way I think about baseball. I'm tempted because I think Cleveland at that money line dog price is a decent way to look, but I'll go with the under. That'll be the play. 2 more games, don't have a play in either of these. Houston is at the A's. The A's, they played yesterday, actually. So the A's returned home from a road trip, and they actually won 3-1 yesterday with Nick Kurtz with a huge home run yesterday. One of the names you really have to, if you're a broadcaster, you don't want to see this guy's name. Nick Kurtz with a home run. You don't want to have to say Nick Kurtz, man. Very, very tenuous name to have to say. At least it's not Noah Kaniga, or however you pronounce his name. The A's got the win yesterday, though. With Kurtz, I believe it was a walk-off home run in the 9th inning. But because the A's got that big win, they're celebrating. They might be in a little bit of a letdown spot here, although Houston used more of their bullpen yesterday. But Houston does have the better bullpen of the two. The A's bullpen stinks, and they're actually the worst in all of baseball, I think, right now. I'm looking at the wrong page again. Yeah, the A's have the worst bullpen area in baseball now. They've surpassed Washington. So don't love the A's bullpen here. Houston has Jason Alexander pitching. What is going on here? George Costanza is pitching for the A's here. So hopefully whatever he does on the mound, hopefully he does the opposite of what he's been doing, because he has an 18 ERA and 2.83 whip. And a 24.3 road ERA. Well, yeah, road ERA. Yeah, he's on the road here for Houston. And he used to be on the A's, apparently. He's got the A's hat on in this thing. Wait a minute. Wait, what? What is happening? Am I confused? I mean, I am. Yeah, Houston is pitching Alexander, but Alexander actually pitched this year for... Yeah, he actually pitched for the A's this year. So all of his stats are with the A's. He made 4 appearances with the A's, so that means he's used to pitching in this stadium. So that's actually interesting that Houston is throwing a pitcher out there who's used to pitching in this stadium. But is he really going to be good? He's a 32-year-old who only pitched in 2022. He made 11 starts for Milwaukee, and he was bad. 5.4 ERA, 1.62 whip, very low strikeout rate. His numbers were not good at all, so he sucks. They might as well just throw George Costanza out there, because Alexander, not expecting that he's going to be good at all. The A's hitters have never actually seen him before, so I mean that's expected, I guess, because he was just on their team. But maybe because of that, they know how he pitches a little bit. He's up against J.P. Sears, who is the better of the two pitchers, but he's struggling a little bit. 5.08 ERA, 1.25 whip. Good start his last time out with 9 strikeouts, no walks at Anaheim. Gave up 2 earned runs, went 5 1/3. He's at least gone 5 innings in his last 3 starts. He's been okay. 15-3 strikeout walk ratio is pretty good over those starts, but a 4.7 ERA. Mediocre, but he's not terrible. Although he struggled in this A's stadium. I mean, again, it's a stadium where balls just fly out of the ballpark. He's allowed 6. He has a 6 ERA here, and he's allowed 9 home runs here, so that's not great. So he has been battling this ballpark and not doing well. His numbers against Houston aren't that good either. In 93 at-bats, only 5 strikeouts. That is an unbelievably low strikeout rate. 5 strikeouts in 93 at-bats, that's crazy low. 3 walks, 290 average, 793 OPS allowed. If you want some player props here, Altuve, 9 for 22, 3 doubles, 2 home runs off him. Diaz, 4 for 10 with a double, a walk. They each have a walk off him. Pena, 7 for 13 with a home run. So those 3 guys, basically the guys that do the damage here. Overall, his numbers are not good against Houston. And we're looking at this Jason Alexander guy pitching. So, yeah, and a terrible A's bullpen, an unrested Houston bullpen. So I think you got to go over in this game. That would be the way I would lean in this game. The money is actually coming in on the A's strongly, with Houston down from -125 to -112. 62% of tickets on Houston, but 76% of the cash coming in on the A's. I don't really disagree with it, because I think Jason Alexander is so bad that Sears is the better of the two pitchers here. But, I mean, his matchup numbers aren't good. His numbers in the stadium aren't good. So I just don't think I could do that, even though the market is indicating on the A's, the homeless. I think the over is the best way to look. The total's up from 10.5 to 10.5 with juice. Obviously, it's that high for a reason. I mean, you have 2 really bad starters here. You have 1 really bad starter and 1 starter with just a bad situation, bad matchup numbers, bad stadium numbers. Yeah, I mean, I think it sets up nicely for the over here. 64% of the tickets are on the over, 96% of the cash on the over. And, of course, just because this stadium in general is such a hitter-friendly park, I think the total should probably be higher. And maybe it's a little bit lower because yesterday's score was so low. And Houston plays a lot of low-scoring games for the most part. But I don't think it's going to be the case here. Yesterday's game was very low scoring, obviously a 1-1 game. I think it did in the 9th inning yesterday. That's not going to happen again here. I think this total should actually probably be closer to 11 in a stadium like this with this pitching matchup. Over would be the way I would look in that one. And then finish it off, San Diego and Dodgers. One of the best matchups of the day as far as like the teams that are playing each other, but the starting pitching matchup is not looking very good here. Of course, Ohtani pitched yesterday, and he struggled. I mean, that is to be expected in his first game pitching in 2 years or whatever. So he only pitched 1 inning, though. So Ohtani, I believe he was in the lineup too, right? Let me just make sure. I didn't really pay attention. I know he allowed 1 run in 1 inning, which we're not going to take that much away from that. He also led off, and he had 2 hits. So, yeah, and a couple of RBIs. So Ohtani was doing the Babe Ruth, man. He pitched 1 inning, and he led off the game. Pretty insane. So yeah, Ohtani, that's what he's going to be doing. I think even when he's has like a full starter's workload, I think he'll still be in the lineup too. I mean, you can't take him out of the lineup. So even with the DH rule, you're allowed to have the pitcher. You're still allowed to not have the DH, and you're allowed to have the pitcher hit if you want to. It's National League rules, basically. No, in the American League rules, the old American League rules. Well, wait a minute. Yeah, I think in the American League, because National League, the pitcher used to have a hit. In the American League, I think you're allowed to have the pitcher hit if you wanted to, which I think is probably what Anaheim did back in the day before they changed that rule. I don't even remember, man. Let's get back on track here, though. So, yeah, Ohtani's first start, not a whole lot to take away from that. I neglected to mention yesterday that he was probably going to have a limited workload in his first start back for so long because I don't think he's been making rehab appearances because he's been playing for the Dodgers. San Diego is at the Dodgers here, though. Yeah, Randy Vasquez is pitching for San Diego. Both of these teams, they played yesterday. Yeah, that's right, because as I just said, Ohtani pitched in that game yesterday. The Dodgers used more of their bullpen yesterday because of that, because they knew Ohtani was going to have a short start, so the bullpen situation is a lot better for San Diego here. They have the better of the 2 bullpens anyway, and they're more rested here. But do we trust Vasquez? I don't know, man. His numbers are hard to trust. 3.57 ERA is good, but a 1.4 whip is pretty bad. He has a 9.8 strikeout walk ratio this month, and he hasn't gone more than 4 2/3 in any of his starts this month, which is pretty ugly. 3.55 ERA looks good, but it should be way worse than that. I don't think you trust Vasquez, man. He's always walking way too many guys. His strikeout walk ratio on the entire season is almost 1-1. So I don't really see how you could trust Vasquez. I heard some professionals saying, "Oh no, he's actually good. He'll settle down." I don't see that happening. And he did just face the Dodgers, so I think he's at a little bit of a disadvantage because the Dodgers just saw him. Even though he does actually have good numbers against the Dodgers, he did okay in the game. 4 2/3, was not that efficient with his pitches. Did strike out 4, walk 1, allowed 1 earned run on a home run, 2 hits. So he didn't have a bad performance. That was in San Diego, which is a more pitcher-friendly park. He did okay, but now that the Dodgers just saw him and they are a really good lineup, I expect them to probably do better this time out. He does have good career numbers against him, 16 at-bats. Conforto has hit a home run off him, but other than that, they're only 2 for 16 off him, 4 strikeouts, 1 walk, 125 average, 489 OPS. So I don't know if I trust Vasquez there, even though his numbers are good against the Dodgers. They just saw him. His numbers overall, very, very bad strikeout walk ratio. And LA is not even decided on a pitcher, so they're probably going with a bullpen game. So I think the only way to look at this game is probably to go over the total. It's gone up very slightly, sitting at 9.5, juice to the over. Odds makers have thrown a high total out there for a reason, and they've lined LA as a -210 favorite, even though they don't even know who the pitcher is. I mean, you're never going to get a bargain betting LA like that, man. I mean, that price is ridiculous. Like, if LA is going with a bullpen game here, I mean, it's a total crapshoot, in my opinion, so I don't really know how line should be that high. Dodgers have the better offense, obviously, but San Diego's offense is decent, and San Diego has the better and more rested bullpen. And if the Dodgers have to go with an unrested, they basically went with a bullpen game yesterday because Ohtani went 1 inning, so they're going to go with a second straight bullpen game. Man, that is not good. The Dodgers need these starting pitchers to come back, man. Dodgers had stacked their roster, and now all their guys are hurt. At least Kershaw's starting to pitch better, but still, this is bad. I would go over the total for all those reasons in that game if I was going to play it. And that's going to do it, man. My plays one more time. Under 8.5 in the Royals and Rangers, both baseball plays here. And under 7.5. I have to pay a little bit for that one. Under 7 is also acceptable in that game. I think in Indians, Giants, that's going to do it for me. Learn to Toad on Twitter. GiveSendGo.com/TowerGangToad if you want to throw some support my way. Tower Gang still is there on the Patreon. All the content will always be out there. So if you do remain subscribed to the Patreon just to, just to support us, help us out, and have access to all that and hang out with us in a Telegram or whatever, you can do that. It's possible that Tower Gang does come back in some form at some point. So who knows? I mean, I'm sad about it though. But Patreon.com/Tower Gang does still exist. I think that's about it. Well, Bohemian Grove is coming up in a couple of days now, man. So you can come see us in Florida for that if you would like to. I think there's still maybe tickets available for that. It's going to be a good time. Big event. Owen Benjamin, Sam Tripoli, Shane Cashman. All these guys are going to be there. I think Elijah Schaefer, I think, is going to be there. I think Jake Shields is going to be there. It's going to be a wild time, man. So come hang out if you want to. Especially if you're in the area in Central Florida, especially if it's within driving distance. You don't have an excuse not to. That's going to do it. Peace out. David, thanks for hanging out. David, Nate, Anthony, good seeing you guys. And let's have a good one today. I'm going to go have some lunch and watch some more sports handicapping material and see what the professionals think, because I like to get some confirmation from some professionals that they agree with me on stuff. Although I do my own stuff. I mean, it's just good to see, they agree with me on this. That's cool. All right. Peace out, guys. Have a good one. And yeah, happy whatever day it is, Tuesday.